So next, we're going to have one of our amazing A-list copywriter who has been a friend of mine for decades. We worked together at Phillips Publishing. So we have been over 20 years, close to 30 years that we've known each other. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Kim Krause Schwalm.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you very much. Denise, that was absolutely beautiful. And you're a tough act to follow. I'm going to get a bit more into some of the nitty gritty lessons that I learned from Clayton, which I hope will be very valuable as they've been to me for everyone else. But who was Clayton to me? Well, when I first came to work at Phillips Publishing, probably about 3 decades ago, I kept hearing the name Clayton Makepeace. And as it turned out, he didn't work there. He was the freelance copywriter who had just written an ultra successful promotion for a new launch, which was the newsletter Health and Healing. And thus, he basically helped create my job in the process. Years later, after I'd gone freelance myself, I had the chance to work directly with Clayton. We worked on a few promos together with him as my copy chief. And of course, I learned tons from him. And I also attended his live event that he had several years ago. I think it was about $5,000. And honestly, it was worth at least 3 times that. He definitely was a huge factor in the lessons I learned about copywriting early on. But my biggest lesson that I want to share with you today is, and this is out of many, is how to identify and write to the prospect's most dominant emotions and biggest motivators in a way that makes them believe. One tactic of Clayton's that I've applied many times and that I've shared with my copywriting mentees is his 5-step features and benefits exercise. This goes way beyond listing out features and benefits like everyone's taught to do. It adds a why step for each feature so you can identify exactly what problem it solves or what kind of advantage it brings. But then you go beyond identifying the so you can benefit to further dimensionalizing it. And when I think of dimensionalizing, that is a word that I associate with Clayton. I mean, I use it all the time myself, but I mean, I think he might have actually invented the word. But dimensionalizing is, dimensionalizing a benefit is what does it look like once you actually have that advantage in your life or that problem eliminated, fleshing that out. And then for each of these dimensionalized benefits, you identify the dominant emotion tied to each one. For example, it could be fear of dependence or loss of control, which is, a huge emotion that many people in our target audience feel. And that could be associated with a bone building supplement benefit. Or it could be the desire to be successful, to be admired or respected. It could be associated with a financial newsletter benefit or a real estate investing course benefit. Or it could be the frustration of feeling like you've been lied to or taken advantage of. And that's an emotion that Clayton tapped into again and again with his health and financial promos. But once you've gone through this 5-step features and benefits exercise, you then rank the emotional motivators in order how powerful they are. And you use that to flow out your copy. And then by this point, you also have quite a bit of fleshed out copy points that you can start weaving in. So you're able to write stronger, harder hitting copy faster. And again, this is a technique that I have used for some of my most successful promotions. And I've taught it to my mentees and they're applying it. And, it really came from Clayton. Writing powerful, hard-hitting copy was something Clayton was able to do better than just about anyone else. I still to this day keep copies of his promos handy to look at for inspiration. Oh, look, there's one right there. Look at that. Just right there. I have a whole file drawer, okay? I'm always awed at his incredible story leads. How every verb is carefully chosen to trigger a specific emotional reaction. Short, powerful words that Hemingway himself would be envious of. And how he maximized credibility and proof by tapping into using quotes from Nobel-winning scientists, something we all do today, like probably too much. Medical studies that he boiled down into simple language and unique mechanisms explained in a way that truly differentiated his product. All these tactics were essential to helping his target prospect to believe. And without belief, there is no action. This is why I recommend any copywriter, whether beginning or advanced, carefully study Clayton's dozens of successful promos to see his powerful copy tactics in action. Clayton's teaching on copy definitely impacted my career. Seeing how he started in other ways, seeing how he started teaching others and sharing so generously more than 10 years ago set a great example for me. It's what I'm doing today with my copy insiders, students, and mentees. So here's to you, Clayton. I owe you much gratitude. And I don't know where I'd be if you hadn't written that health and healing promo. I also appreciate Wendy, also known as the Redhead, and Carline for all they did in bringing health and healing to fruition. Between the three of them, they helped create not just my job and my subsequent copywriting career, but opportunities for so many others in the alternative health market that exploded after health and healing was launched. Wendy, I know you suffered a huge, unfillable loss when Clayton passed away. And I hope that the love, friendship, and support of this community help bring you comfort and strength. Thank you, Carline, for including me in this event to honor Clayton. Now I'm going to get choked up.
Yeah.
It truly is a privilege.
Thank you very much, Kim. That was beautiful. I loved when you mentioned the dimensionalizing, because Clayton was a master at that. It's sort of, he always told me, look, don't just mention one benefit, but break it down and show me different ways how that's a benefit. So how is it a benefit to me financially? How is it going to save me some time? How is it going to make me look good? How is it going to make me, peer to my, the peers? So that taking one benefit and then dimensionalizing it all throughout the package. He was a master at doing that. And I love how, you could read everything and you just put yourself in there because you go, oh yeah, I want that. I want that. So that was powerful. Thank you so much. And the experience that we've had because of that health and healing package, because of that launch that we really all believe, really launched a whole industry, the whole health market blew up because of that package that Clayton wrote.
Yes.
And it gave many of us jobs, careers that lasted 30 years and more. So of course, like I said, that's something we're very, very thankful for. So thank you for sharing that, Kim. Really
Thank you again. And all my good wishes to Wendy and to your family as well, Carline.
Oh, great. Now we're going to move to we got a guy cub here, one of Clayton's copy cubs also, Parris Lampropoulos. Clayton used to call him my brother in the copywriting world. He said, so I want to introduce my copywriting brother to you right now, Mr. Parris Lampropoulos.
Hi, everybody. I can't believe it's been over a year since we've seen each other in person. It's so great seeing everybody. I'm getting just choked up. Wendy, so great to see you. Everybody else, all my friends, I love you all, and I hope we can all get together again soon. IRL, as they say. I'm going to set my timer here so I don't go over because I could talk for years about Clayton. He started out as a mentor, but then became so much more, a friend, a confidant, an older brother to me. My whole career basically consists of just watching what Clayton does and then doing it. So, I learned a lot about copy from him, which I'll share a couple of things in a moment. But, I watched what he did. He took on copy cubs, so I took on copy cubs. He became more than a writer and became a consultant, so I became a consultant. He did deals where he would partner with a company, so I did deals where I would partner with a company. And he was there for me anytime I needed to ask him advice. In fact, the last time I ever spoke to him was him giving me advice. So I want to share, I know because there's a lot of copywriters in the room, I want to share one specific copywriting lesson, and then if my timer still has time, I'll share a life lesson. So the copywriting lesson was, back in the day, there were these things called magalogs. And Gary Benzavenga, who's here today, was one of the masters of the magalog. And Clayton says that he learned how to write magalogs by basically just looking at Gary's copy and reverse engineering it and doing what he did. And I looked at these things and it was so imposing. It was like 10,000 words of copy. There were sidebars, there was this, there. I was totally paralyzed. Like, I was like, how do you even begin to do such a thing? And Clayton said, oh, it's really simple. First thing you do is you go through the product, and typically back then we were selling newsletters and books and stuff, informational products. You just basically go through and write bullets, just like you would for any other thing. You write as many bullets as you can. And then after you're done, you ask yourself, which of these bullets actually have a good payoff? It's not just you being a crazy copywriter coming up with a way to twist it to sound it intriguing. It's like the bullet is intriguing, but then the underlying information is just as good or better than the bullet. Well, when that happens, you reveal it in the promotion. So you maybe turn it into a sidebar, or if it's not a sidebar, it gets woven into the body copy. And then you take the bullet you wrote, and that becomes the headline for that sidebar or the crosshead for that piece of copy. And it also becomes a teaser bullet on the front cover. So now you have multiple entry points for people to get into the copy. And it was just like, duh, like he just took this complicated thing, boiled it down to its essence, made it simple. And I started doing that. And basically, that paid my bills for like 15 years. So that was a great copy lesson from Clayton. Of course, I also learned a lot by just when I was actually one of his cubs, I would submit the copy and then Clayton would fix it, send it to the client. And then I'd always look at the final product. I'd look at my copy here, Clayton's here, side by side. Oh, look what he did. He changed this. That's so clever. Now I get it. So that's a copywriting lesson. Another way that he profoundly impacted me was the first time I ever met him in person. We'd been doing work, remotely. And we finally got to meet Clayton in person. We met in Lake Tahoe, and he stayed he was in the presidential suite at the hotel. And, he and Wendy were getting massages and facials and all that kind of stuff. And then he took us all out to dinner. There were about a dozen of us, and Clayton picked up the tab. And it was a real eye opener for me, because until then I had tried to start my own mail order business. And I wasn't good at so much of the business side of it, like hiring people and inventory and all these other things that I didn't have a clue about. And here was Clayton making more money than 95% of business people on the planet. And all he was doing was writing for clients. And it just blew my mind that you could do that. I mean, I kind of knew it before intellectually because I'd heard stories, but getting to see it in the flesh really made a big impact on me and changed the course of my life, really. And I see I have about a minute and a half left, so I'm just going to say one other thing. Kim talked about the way Clayton dimensionalized things. There was no one on the planet who was better at dimensionalizing than Clayton. I remember he wrote a promotion once, and there was a statistic that like 140,000 people a year die from properly prescribed drugs, right? And most writers would have just written that down in their copy. 140,000 people per year die from properly prescribed drugs. Well, here's what Clayton wrote. His opening to the copy was, if 3 jumbo jets crashed every day, you would never set foot on a plane again. Yet that's how many people die every day from properly prescribed prescription drugs. That's a big difference, right? So that's me. I love you all, and thank you for having me.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Parris. Very powerful. I love what you brought out about how Clayton could boil things down to the essence and then keep it simple. Like, duh, like you go, duh. I remember being in a cocktail party one time, and a guy came up to Clayton and said, man, I read your stuff, and that stuff, it's so easy. I could write it. And Clayton was like, yeah, go ahead. So the power was that it looks so simple that people go, yeah, I can do this. But we know it's not that simple. It's not, it's hard making it look so simple. And he was awesome at doing that. He was a master at that. So that's a lesson that I was so glad to learn from him also, and he shared with many of us. So thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it, bro. Okay, so now we're gonna meet someone that I've had a chance to see grow in her career. That's been a real blessing to me to watch how she has become an established copywriter on her own. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to please welcome Miss Pauline Longdon.
Thank you so much, Carline, and thank you for having me in this wonderful event. I mean, I'm still pinching myself. I'm bookended by amazement. I've got Parris on one side, Gary Bensavenga on the other. I mean, you know, what a dream come true. But I think it's really quite poignant at the moment, me being up in the middle of the night. It's actually 3:45 in the morning. And why it's so poignant is that Clayton was the first person who I ever got up in the middle of the night for. Like, you know, I actively gave up sleep to go to his mentoring and his mastermind calls. And it's something that put me in good stead, because now I'm a Parris Lampropoulos cub. I'm very proud to say that. So I guess that makes me a grandchild of Clayton's. But, you know, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning listening to Parris and being active. So something that Clayton put and instilled in me is that you don't wait for the mountain to come to you. You go to the mountain, because, you know, as we all know, you don't wait because it could be too late. You just never know. So Clayton was my first ever copy crush. I'll never forget the time I first read his copy. I read it and I just gushed. I thought, if I could write half as well as he could, I would be a happy copywriter. And I waited so long. So I finally got my opportunity to tell him that he was my copy crush. I went to a financial copywriter. I'm so nervous. I'm just awestruck. I'm just looking at this panel across, no pressure. Anyway, so I just imagine, anyway, so yeah, I went to a Clayton Makepeace financial writing workshop in Denver, Colorado in 2016. I was doing it pretty tough at the time. And so AWAI gave me a really great price on that, so I could take my partner Ray. And I went there, and there was Clayton, obviously it was his, there was David Deutsch and Parris Lampropoulos, and that's where I actually like hassled Parris, I think, for the last time to be a copy cub, and he said send me an email. But anyway, back to Clayton. So what happened though, I finally went up to Clayton and I said, Clayton, if I could write half as well as you, I'd be a very happy woman. And he said to me, Pauline, do not compare your first draft to my 16th or 17th draft. And those words have stuck with me forever, because too often as copywriters, and this is where that horrible imposter syndrome comes in, is that we're looking at a published magalog and we go, man, I'll never be like that. But Clayton's first draft wasn't like that. His second draft wasn't like that. His third draft wasn't like that. And that's something that I've had pushed, you know, like reinforced with Parris, because I mean, getting, well, the beautiful thing is that I've been taught by Clayton, I've been taught by Carline, I've been taught by Parris. I mean, I've got like the holy trinity of Claytonness right there. And every time Parris says something, I just go, I've heard that from Clayton, but he puts it in a different dimension. Then obviously Parris NDAs can't say, so, you know, we're safe here, matey. But yeah, so that's, I'm so grateful. But how did I find Parris? How did I find Gary Bensavenga? Because in 2014, I traveled halfway around the world. I borrowed money from a friend that I hardly knew to buy a ticket to the Titans of Direct Response event in Connecticut. And why did I do that? Well, I'll tell you why I did that. It was because I had found Clayton Makepeace before I found any of those people. And I just looked at it and I went, the only way that I can be the copywriter that I truly feel that I'm destined to be is to get myself out of Australia. And I can say confidently that if I had just stayed at home where it was comfortable to learn and comfortable to get the experience, I would not be here today as a copywriter. I would have given up a long time ago. So what I would say is, like, being involved with Clayton basically opened up my, Clayton Makepeace, I believe, was a once in a lifetime teacher, mentor, and a friend. Finding Clayton basically opened up the doors to the copywriting kingdom for me, because, like, look at where I am today. Like, I'm going to be pinching myself and my face is going to be redder than my shirt about like just the reality of this. But something that was brought up was that Clayton made you feel just so included. And I have never felt so accepted by someone in my whole life. My first boot camp, I was so nervous. It was 2015. And Ray and I, my partner, had been talking to Clayton for a while on Facebook. And so in moving down, I hadn't caught up with Clayton for the at the boot camp. And so I was walking out of one of the lifts at the Marriott in Delray Beach. And I got out of the lift with a guy called John. And I walked down towards the ballroom. And as we're walking, John's kind of ignoring me because he was kind of a big deal. Anyway, so we started walking, and then all of a sudden Clayton locked eyes with me and went, "Oh my goodness, Pauline, I've been waiting so long to see you." And just as John went in to shake Clayton's hand, Clayton brushed past John and goes, "Pauline, oh, wait a minute, John, I've got to catch up with Pauline. I've been waiting so long to meet this woman." Gave me the great big bear hug. And John just looked at me and went, "Who is this woman?" Do you know who that John was? John Carlton.
Carlton.
It was like he pushed John Carlton out of the way to like give little insignificant me a hug. And that to me, just like, I just knew that he was just such an amazing, inclusive, just loving man. So yeah, just Clayton taught me so much about everything. But really, I just want to say to everyone, in 2016, 2017, Ray and I did what we call the 3-peak tour of America. We went to America. We were taught by Clayton, Dan Kennedy, and Ted Nicholas. And as we know, Dan Kennedy nearly passed away a couple of years ago. I have no regrets. I love the fact that I got off my butt, flew halfway around the world. And by the way, all the trips were separate. So we traveled all the way there, and basically I invested in myself. I didn't, hold back. I didn't wait for the mountain to come to me. So if anything that Clayton has taught me indirectly, and I doubt that he knew that he taught me, but he basically taught me to get off my butt and go for what you want. So I'm very grateful to that. And thank you, Carline. Yeah, I'm so grateful.
Oh, that was beautiful. Okay, I gotta take a few minutes here. We gotta stay put where you are, Pauline, because you said some really, really powerful things I think that will help new writers. First of all, let me tell the funny Pauline story that I remember. I guess it must have been your first boot camp, at least the first boot camp. I didn't know you at the time, so I'm looking at pictures. I'm taking pictures of boot camp. I got some pictures of me and Clayton, other people, and I'm starting looking at my pictures. And I'm looking at the behind, and Pauline was photobombing all the pictures. I was trying to find one. It wasn't coming out clear. You're just like, I mean, you're just jumping all those pictures. And we're looking back, going, who is this person who has just photobombed the photos? I got to get to know her, because that's a funny woman. That's a funny person. So that's the funny part. But you said a couple of things I want to make sure that especially new copywriters hear again. When you talk about not comparing, when Clayton said, don't compare your first draft to my 16th or 17th draft, you wrote that in your e-zine when you sent it out. And when I read that, when I contacted you, I said, I need you to come and speak, because that is something that I think all writers get stuck on, thinking, oh my goodness, look how good this draft is, look how good this copy is, not realizing all the work that went into it. When Parris mentioned how he would look at what he turned in to Clayton, and then he would see what Clayton did, and then he would then look and see, like, oh, that's what he did. That's what he did. Well, when I turned my copy into Clayton and I saw what he did, I was still going, oh, the but, that's my word. That's my word. He left that word in there. Yes, I got a the, and I got a but and an and. Yes, I rock. That would be what was left in my copy by the time he went through it. So I can definitely relate to that. But that is a very powerful lesson, is don't intimidate yourself by thinking that, I can never write as good as that. And the other thing that you said I thought was extremely, extremely powerful, was not said that you lived, was how you invested in yourself. You borrowed money to go someplace because you felt like, I needed this to get me to this next level. So investing in yourself is what we all have to do. At some point, all of us had to take that step and say, I'm going to do this. When Gary Bensavenga had his seminar, I'm like, shoot, I need to borrow some money. I gotta get over here, and so had to do it, had to hustle. I'm like, I want to be there. I got to be there, because if I am there, it will be a pivotal point in my career. And it absolutely was. Ted Kennedy, is it Ted Kennedy who did it? No, I forgot who. Dan Kennedy. When my first Dan Kennedy seminar, I had to borrow $4,000 to attend his seminar. I tried to work on a payment plan with Dan so I could make it, because I knew I had to be there. And within noon, that was the best decision I had made for myself. That was very, very early on my career. So investing in yourself, you know, I think especially women, we have such a hard time with this because, you know, we'll say, oh, we need the money for our kids' college education, or we need the money to save it for, or give it to so-and-so for their vacation or their this. And you're like, hey, that kid's gonna go to college for 4 years, you know, you think you're gonna have a job by the time he's done? I'm like, is that a good return on your investment where you know you're serious about what you want to do? So take some of that cash and invest it in yourself and get better. So thank you. Thank you very much. I thought those were great lessons to pass on to, especially up and coming aspiring writers. You're gonna have to, at some point, invest in yourself. So thank you, Pauline, very much.